I was still pretty green at the time. Fresh CDL. 6 months solo. Maybe. Confident enough to feel comfortable. Dumb enough to think that meant I knew what I was doing. It was an easy run on paper. Dry van. Nothing special. Just an overnight push on a long 2-lane highway that cut through open land and fence line and nothing else. One of those roads where the radio fades in and out and the dash lights feel like the only thing alive with you. I'd been rolling a couple hours. Traffic was almost non-existent. Hadn't passed another set of headlights in a while. That's when I saw the car. Pulled over on the shoulder. Half on gravel, half on asphalt. Hood popped. Hazards flashing slow. Like they'd been blinking a long time. And standing out front, a woman. Dark jacket, hands tucked into the sleeves. Hair moving in the wind as I rolled past. She didn't wave. Didn't jump around. Just stood there and watched me go by. I slowed without really thinking about it. That part still bothers me. It was automatic. I remember thinking, she's done for if nobody stops. Middle of nowhere, cold night, no town for miles. So I pulled onto the shoulder about 100 yards ahead so I wouldn't block the road. Not that anyone else was using it. Set my brakes, threw on my vest, and grabbed my flashlight. Just trying to do the right thing. As I walked back, that quiet, uneasy feeling slid in. Not loud, not dramatic, just wrong. She stayed by the hood, didn't walk toward me, didn't shout. I asked if she was okay. She nodded and said the car died for no reason. Said her phone had no service. Said nobody had stopped yet. Her voice was calm, too calm. I asked if she wanted me to radio for help. She took a half step closer to my truck and said, "If you back up right here, we can jump it real quick." And that's when I noticed. There were no cables, no roadside kit, no triangle, nothing. Just her, the car, and black space on every side of the road. I hesitated. Told her I'd have to turn around to line the truck upright. She said that was fine. As I turned back toward my cab, I caught movement across the road in the ditch. Not fast, not obvious, just out of place. Like shadows adjusting where they shouldn't. My stomach dropped. I didn't turn my back fully after that. Walked backward the rest of the way with my flashlight sweeping side to side like I was pretending to look for something. From the steps of my truck, I could see them clearly now. 2 shapes in the ditch. Low, crouched, staying still when the light passed over them, waiting. The woman started walking toward my bumper, slow, casual, like she already knew how this was supposed to end. Something in me finally flipped on, that deep instinct that says the next wrong move costs everything. I climbed into the cab. She stopped a few steps behind my trailer, just outside the glow of my rear lights. Just stood there in the dark. I cracked the window an inch and told her I couldn't help. Said company policy. Said I already called it in. Her face changed. No fear, no anger, just empty. Then a hand lifted up from the ditch across the road. Then another. Metal caught my headlights for half a second. I floored it. Gravel sprayed. The trailer jerked. My mirrors rattled so hard I could barely see straight. In the mirror, I watched them sprint for the car. No panic, no hesitation, just business. The woman disappeared into the passenger seat. Hazard lights went dark. The engine fired instantly. And then they were behind me. They followed for about 5 minutes. Never tried to pass. Never fell back. Just kept their headlights locked in my mirrors. So close, I couldn't even see the hood of their car. My hands were numb on the wheel, mouth dry. Every safety video I ever half watched suddenly loud in my head. I stayed on it, didn't slow, didn't brake check, just kept pushing. Eventually I saw lights ahead, a small highway junction, closed gas station, sheriff's substation next door. The second my headlights washed over those signs, they killed their lights. No brakes, no taillights, just gone. I pulled straight into the sheriff's lot and sat there shaking until someone came out. They took the report, didn't look surprised, said they'd been hitting truckers for months, robbing some, dragging others into the ditch. Said the woman always stood by the hood, said the car always started just fine when they were done waiting. I never stop for roadside breakdowns anymore. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter how bad it looks. I'll call it in. I'll flash my lights, but I won't step back out into that dark. Because some nights, the people on the shoulder aren't stranded. They're just waiting for you to take the bait. I didn't think anything was wrong at first. That's probably the worst part of it. If something feels off right away, you're cautious. That night felt normal. It was just after 2 a.m, farm country, flat highway, no towns, no lights. Just reflectors drifting past and the steady hum of the truck. I was wide awake, coffee still warm, clear weather. One of those nights where you settle into the miles and let your mind wander. Then the amber lights showed up ahead. At first, I thought it was construction, but as I got closer, I could read the sign. Scale open. All trucks must stop. That made me slow immediately. I'd run that stretch before and didn't remember a scale being out there, but routes change and temporary setups happen. I was heavy that night and the sign was lit, so I took the ramp. The scale itself looked tired. Cracked concrete, dark stains from years of oil and rain, metal rails rusted enough to show their age. The kind of place that looked permanent, not temporary. The scale house windows glowed with a soft yellow light. The door opened as soon as I stopped. A guy stepped out wearing a dark uniform and reflective vest, clipboard tucked under his arm. No rush, no attitude. Calm, steady movements. He felt normal, ordinary. He took my paperwork through the window. His voice was quiet but clear. He disappeared inside for a few minutes while I sat there listening to the idle rumble of the engine and the tick of cooling metal. When he came back out, he asked the usual questions. Pickup, destination, how long I'd been running, any issues with the load. Everything lined up clean. Weight was legal, logs were tight, nothing to flag. He handed my paperwork back through the window and gave a small nod. You're good. Have a safe run. I eased forward and merged back onto the highway. The scale fell away behind me almost immediately, swallowed by darkness. 10 minutes later, I saw red and blue flashing in my mirrors. My stomach dropped. I slowed right away and eased onto the shoulder. Shut it down. Sat there with my hands on the wheel, already running through what I might have missed. Light out, speed drift, something simple. The trooper walked up on the passenger side with his light cutting through the cab. He asked where I'd just come from. I told him my pickup city. Then I mentioned the scale. That's when he paused. He asked me to repeat that. I pointed back the way I'd come and told him I'd gone through a way station about 10 minutes earlier. His expression changed. Not shocked, not aggressive, just tight. He asked me to describe it, so I did. The stained concrete, the rusted rails, the yellow-lit windows, the guy with the vest and clipboard. He stood there silent for a few seconds. Then he said quietly, "There hasn't been an active scale on that highway in over 6 years." I laughed at first, mostly nerves. Told him that couldn't be right. I'd just been there, handed over my paperwork, talked to the officer. The place was lit, doors open. He didn't argue. Instead, he asked what the officer looked like. Same calm voice, same posture, same vest. The trooper nodded slowly and said drivers used to give that same description back when the scale was active. He told me it was shut down after a corruption investigation. Bribes, freight disappearing after inspections, drivers being sent on detours that never matched dispatch routes. They cut power to the building, blocked access once the case wrapped, left the site to decay. He ran my logs right there on the shoulder. Lights, tires, plate, everything checked out. Before he walked back to his cruiser, he leaned in slightly and said, "If you see that scale lit up again, don't stop for it. Call it in and keep moving." He cleared me to leave. I rolled back onto the highway, trying to make sense of it, telling myself maybe I'd mixed up locations, maybe fatigue blurred it, maybe I'd caught a portable setup without realizing it. A few days later, I ran that same route again in broad daylight. That's when I saw where the scale used to be. The old concrete pad was still there, cracked and half swallowed by weeds. The scale house sat dark and boarded up. No power, no signs, no fresh tire marks. Just an abandoned shell baking in the sun like it had been dead for a long time. Exactly where the trooper said it would be. And exactly not how I remembered it that night. That's when I really started questioning everything. Because the truth is, I was tired. Not falling asleep tired, but that slow, foggy kind of tired that sneaks in after too many night runs in a row. The kind that doesn't knock you out, it just makes things feel slightly off. Just enough to make you wonder what you really saw. Just enough to make you second-guess the details. But here's the part I can't explain. My paperwork still had the faint smear of fresh ink on it from where that guy had slid it back through the window. It hadn't been there before that night. And my logs still showed the time where I should have been at a scale. After that run, I asked dispatch to route me a different way. They didn't argue, and I didn't tell them why. This happened on a stretch of I-70 some truckers call the Black Dog Mile. The kind of story you joke about at sunrise and think about too long at night. It was 2:47 a.m. No towns, no headlights ahead, none behind. Just me, the engine, and that long black strip of road. A quiet so complete, it felt deliberate. My high beams lit up the shoulder, and there it was. A massive black dog. Legs long enough to make your stomach question them. Tall enough that even the guardrail looked small next to it. Dark fur. Not shimmering, not glossy. More like absence holding the outline of an animal. It lifted its head as the light washed over it. Slow, heavy, almost ceremonial. Its eyes caught the beams like pennies dipped in blood-colored metal. Not glowing, reflecting something, but not the world the rest of the night belonged to. I blew past it at highway speed. 80,000 pounds should have scared it into motion, should have made it bolt. It didn't. Not a twitch, not a blink. No fear response at all, just tracking my cab as the trailer rushed by. Not reacting like prey, watching like it was taking notes. I told myself I was tired. That's the script every driver plays first. But tired things blur. Tired things slur the edges. This thing was precise. So I checked my mirror. Empty. Just darkness swallowing distance like it always does. Then I checked again. One red reflection sat at the far end of my trailer, the shape of a taillight. Only it wasn't a taillight. It kept the same distance. No drifting, no bob, no lag, no gain. Mile after mile after mile. I tapped the brakes. The reflection slowed. I accelerated. It stayed exactly where it was. Even disbelief started sweating. My CB radio hissed with static, low and wet, like breath through teeth, like lungs pressed too close to a microphone. No voice, no words, just a cadence that sounded disturbingly alive. I shut it off. Silence hit like a pressure change. The cab became a sealed coffin humming at 65 miles an hour. Then came the overpass. Concrete bridge above me, faded sign overhead. Elm Ridge Road overpass. White letters peeling like old bone. And on the edge of it, That dog. Standing again. Bigger now. Back curved upward like it wasn't done stretching into the shape it had chosen. Its head lowered as I passed below. Not frightened. Curious. Like it wanted a better look inside. Something in you always knows before your brain admits it. That ancient reflex buried under logic telling you to stop pretending. So I swung into a rest area under one jaundiced sodium lamp, flicker-paced and unreliable, the only source of light brave enough to still claim ownership of the place. I locked the doors, drew the curtains, climbed into the bunk, and even with my eyes closed, the road stayed in the room with me, unblinking, patient, waiting for a miscalculation in my exhaustion. I woke up because the truck rocked. Not wind, not air pressure. Something pushing the frame slow enough to feel confident about it. I pulled the curtain back. Eyes were there, right against the glass. Too dark to be natural. Too human in their patience to be animal. A face glued together from suggestion and imitation. Like wildlife trying to remember a human expression it had no business wearing. The glass fogged, then cleared with a single sharp inhale. I hit the starter. The diesel exploded into a roar, punching a hole back into reality. The headlights swept forward. Nothing there. Not running away, not hiding. Just deleted from existence like someone snuffed out a candle with a lid. Truckers don't talk about storm fear. We talk about isolation fear. The kind that sits beside you like a passenger, quiet, observant, waiting for you to forget it was ever invited. Some miles you drive through, some miles you survive, and some miles you just pull off, kill the engine, and admit you're done for the night. I've logged enough night miles to learn the truth most drivers don't say out loud. Fear doesn't come from the road itself. It comes from the moment you realize you're sharing it with the wrong kind of people. I haul late-night freight for a regional carrier out west. My rig is a 2021 sleeper semi pulling a 48-foot dry van. Sealed, logged, routine. No snow, no storms, no chatter. Just asphalt, diesel hum. Black silence. At 1:32 a.m., cutting south through Nevada toward Arizona, I caught my first hint of movement ahead. A 2016 Class 8 rig, white cab, unmarked box trailer, riding the lane with no wander at all. No sway, no drift, no tiny human corrections you make without thinking. The truck moved like intention, like it expected nothing to challenge it. Then, it signaled. A slow right blinker, holding, 7 full seconds. Too long for courtesy, long enough to expect obedience. I edged left to pass. That's when my mirror burned white with headlights from behind. Another rig closed the gap fast, too fast for something governed to 68 miles an hour. It didn't brake, it didn't hesitate. It just slowed perfectly into position behind me, 300 feet back, locked to my pace. I checked the front rig ahead of me again. It dropped to 63 instantly. No brake dip, no delay, just match. The rig behind me, 63 as well. Mirrored, matched, intentional. I keyed the CB radio. Nothing. I turned it off. It clicked back on by itself. Then a voice, close, calm, certain. You should fuel up before you run out. My tank was 3/4 full. Certainty twisted into dread. Then came the pickup, a 1994 heavy frame work truck rolling onto the maintenance ramp curve like it lived there. No compliance tape, no visible plates, no taillights. Just a slow roll until it found 68 and parked itself beside my passenger window. 2 men in the cab. Only one turned to look at me. He didn't wave, didn't nod, didn't glare. He looked the way someone does who already believes you belong somewhere in their logbook. His stare held no anger. That made it worse. Anger negotiates. Calm claims. I pushed the throttle to 68. He stayed at 68. Precisely. Mirrored. I tapped 70. He didn't match by momentum. He matched by acknowledgement. He didn't pass. He let me pull ahead. Following is worse than pacing, because pacing is control. Following is ownership. My phone blinked back to bars for 11 seconds on the dip outside Current Summit, just long enough to check behind me again. No shift, no overtake. Still there, learning the cadence of my fears. By 2:44 a.m., I pulled into a sanctioned truck turnout beneath low, buzzing sodium vapor lights. Brakes sighed, rigs settled. Air tanks hissed like breath. Then he pulled in, too. Not behind, not beside, diagonal. Nose parked over the only exit. The man stepped out. No coat, no mask, no caution. Just a knuckle tap on my driver window. One silver ring catching yellow light like punctuation dropped into darkness. Then the same words again. Monotone, calm, certain. You're early tonight. The dread wasn't in the sentence. It was in the repetition. I backed out onto the emergency shoulder berm. Tires crunched gravel and desert dust all the way south until daylight reclaimed the highway. I never reported him to dispatch that morning, because some threats don't need shadows, static, or folklore to haunt you. They just learn your schedule, park over exits like punctuation, and wait for you to arrive, early, in the dark. I changed routes after that, changed times, changed expectations. But every time I check my mirror at night now, I'm not scanning for the unnatural anymore. I'm scanning for the real, the certain, the intentional, human, calm, and waiting to see if I'm early again. I pulled into the truck stop just past midnight. No neon flicker, no diner hum. Just a cracked lot and a rust-bitten sign swaying gently on its post, like it was tired of standing. 11 years on the road teaches you a secret. Storms don't scare veterans. Silence does. The kind that feels watched. I needed rest, so I parked. Engine off. Air brakes sighed out their last breath for the night. The world shrank to the size of a cab, and the quiet settled in around me like dust, until it rocked. Not wind, not passing rigs, a push. Slow, deliberate. Pause long enough to question sanity, short enough to deny it. I glanced at the mirror, empty road staring back. Another rock answered before the fear could ask again. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out. The beam cut forward like a sword, but the dark swallowed the edges. I rounded the trailer. 4 men in black, hunched in silence at the rear doors of my rig, working the lock with tools that glinted under the overpass moon like sharp commas in the paragraph of night. No logos, no voices, just method. One stopped, slowly turned. He carried a handgun like he carried routine. "Driver," he said quietly, "step out of the truck." A second passed. Maybe 2. Maybe 10. Not screaming, not cinematic, just fact. I stepped toward them, boots crunching gravel louder than intended. One rifle rose to meet my chest. Another pressed cold lawlessness against my spine, the kind you feel before you hear the threat. Time stretched sideways, like the air between trigger and heartbeat solidified. Then, headlights swept across the lot. A black and white cruiser, calm in its patrol, lonely in its arrival, rolling into the stop like punctuation correcting a long sentence. The men scattered faster than thought, rifles dragging shadows behind them as they sprinted into the grammarless dark. I watched them dissolve, not vanish, unexist. The cruiser door clicked open. Boots hit asphalt. A trooper stepped out, adjusting his hat out of habit, scanning the lot like he was reading it for rules instead of legends. He didn't know he walked into a fabled standoff that history forgot to log. He only knew men with rifles scatter when hope pulls in. And hope pulled in right then. I fully for the first time that night. My voice felt small, human again. Not a crack in authority, just a crack in armor. "You saved my life, officer," I said. He looked toward the sky, the overpass, then back at the empty darkness. Confused the way you are when you almost read a thing that doesn't belong written there. "I reckon you needed rest," he said quietly. I nodded, because on nights like that, escape doesn't look like victory. It looks like survival. The rig still hummed gently behind me, as if remembering what it saw and refusing to describe it back. Some nights you don't interrogate the dark. You thank the light that split it. You park, you close your eyes, and you survive another paragraph of road. The rule is simple. If the night ever feels occupied again, you pull off, lock up, and sleep, just long enough for the world to start making sense again.